Hello and welcome to Masters of the Deal, the podcast where we uncover the personal stories behind billion-dollar deal makers. As the region head for Ideals VDR, I help deal makers close their transactions faster with our virtual data rooms. Over the past 2 decades, I've got to know many of them personally and professionally. So I take this opportunity to tease out how they got to the top. Join me and learn what it takes to become a master of the deal. Today's guest has been involved in business advisory and transaction service assignments for nearly 30 years. He has carried out over 700 due diligences, working across a range of sectors and transactions with values ranging from as little as $2 million to $2 billion. Samir Sheth has spent his career deep in the deal-making process, and we'll talk a lot more about this, leading financial due diligence, advising on cross-border transactions, including a stint in Canada, where I studied. So I would love to know how your Canadian experience was, and supporting some of India's biggest companies through high-stake decisions. Samir is a partner and head of the deal advisory services practice at BDO India. Samir, I'm looking forward to learning more about your journey. Welcome to Masters of the Deal.
Hey, thanks, Harsh, and thanks for having me on your show. I'd seen one or two earlier episodes and really interesting ones, so look forward.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Thank you for that feedback. So let's start, Samir, right at the beginning. Like, where are you from, and what was it like growing up?
So interesting. So I actually come from a small town closer to Mumbai. So did my schooling out there, and towards the end, did move to Mumbai in the high school. I would say around seventh standard. Uh, Idea being obviously coming here for a better education. Uh, the plan was that I do my chartered accountancy CA and probably go back to my hometown and start a practice there. And from there, I mean, once you're here in Mumbai, it's city of dreams, right? The perspective completely changed. There was no way that I would probably go back to my town for working. I mean, I go there regularly, but not for professional life. And that's where I'm here. One thing led to another, and really helped moved into deals business. So very interesting journey out here. So
Where is
moved.
home? What is the home? Which hometown are you from?
It's a place called Mangav. It's in Raigad district. So come
Okay,
from there.
and it's part of Maharashtra, or
It's part of Maharashtra. Well, it's on the Mumbai Goa highway. Uh,
okay.
about
So
a
so
4 hours
for
drive from Mumbai. It's not far.
so there's an airport which has come closer to the border of Goa,
Yeah.
and a lot of the Goa development has moved closer as well. So from where you are in Mumbai, driving to Mopai takes about 4 hours, you said, and then from there to Goa.
Probably another 5 hours, five to
Okay,
six.
so do you keep on going to Goa for a break? So you're basically halfway.
It's halfway. No, but it's sometimes right. You normally will now go to native place for some occasion or other, uh,
Sure,
or probably sometimes to meet old friends.
there you go. So did your parents have a big influence on what you studied or did growing up?
Yeah. So honestly, it was decision left to me, but I was rather influenced. My dad was an auditor in a government team, and my uncle was a chartered accountant. He had a small practice in a city, and that's what I was influenced with. As I said, the initial dream, right, and dreams keep on changing, was to kind of be a CA, move back to my town, and kind of build a practice there. But I mean, once you're here, made friends, saw what's working in Mumbai is what's working in professional services firms, and dreams kept on changing.
One of the things that I believe is true is that a lot of kids end up doing what the parents do, because that's what they've seen. Probably there's a lot of talk at home, and uh, a lot of people don't know really what to do with their life or what direction to take, and hence, doctors' kids become doctors, lawyers' kids become lawyers, accountants' kids become accountants. Do you have kids who have followed on your path as well?
Well, I do have a son, but he's completely chosen a different line. He's trying to become a doctor, so completely different from what I'm doing.
Okay. So,
Did did try to explain him an influence, but no. And he chose a different line, so it's an interesting one. Yeah.
So then you did, got influenced by your dad and your uncle, and you did a bachelor's of commerce from R.A. Porter College in Mumbai, while simultaneously studying for your CA, which came a year after you graduated. Was
Yeah.
that hard to study both of them together, doing college as well as your CA?
So, see, I was always very driven. I wanted to kind of do my CA quickly. My mom was still in my native place, so I actually wanted to bring her to Mumbai. So I was at a young age was quite driven, wanted to quickly achieve something. So I thought I did balance it well. Quickly went through CA exams, and it was fine to balance. I mean, honestly, commerce is relatively doing Bachelor of Commerce is relatively, I would say, a easy course. Foundation had just started; it was the second batch of foundation, so did focus a lot on the CA part of it. So I would say, yeah, it's tough, but was doable. Not
And why
something.
why did you do your CA, not your CFA? Is it because your uncle was a CA and that's what you were encouraged to do?
Not really. I think that time, this is way back in 96, I graduated. So I started this sometime in 92, 93. I think CA was probably the most popular course around at that time. Most of the guys, my friends, kind of from the commerce background, chose that line. So kind of I went that route.
Understood. So you come from Mopa to big city, you experience life in the city, you fall in love with it, you make friends here, and you're like, well, I like this. This is the
Yeah,
city of dreams. I don't want to go back to small town home. Even though you keep on going, it will always be home.
yeah.
Are your parents still there? Is your family still there?
No, so as I said, my dream was to get them here. So I kind of got my mom to Mumbai as soon as I qualified, within a couple of years, I would say. So yeah, this is Mumbai is the new home.
Mumbai is the new home.
Yeah,
So after graduating, you went straight for the next 9 years. You were senior manager for PwC in transaction services. Now, help us understand what you mean by transaction services.
so Harsh, what happened is during as I completed my CA, I did articleship with smaller firms because along with college, you can't really you can't really do with a larger firm because you had to attend college, you had to attend classes. So I did, and at that time, the foundation students, none of the larger firms were accepting us as article trainees. But as soon as I finished college, I moved to a larger firm, PwC, at that point of time. Started with audit, which typically you end up in your articleship days. But for some reason, I rarely did statutory audits. I somehow always happened to land on some kind of a unique or different assignments. So I was doing audits with a audit manager. My manager was on audit leave, and the diligence director at that point of time, he happened to start a new assignment and needed few hands. And he asked, "Would you be interested?" Sounded very interesting, so I said, "Yeah, why not?" And the first instructions very clear. He said, "Tomorrow morning you need to be at this spot. Don't wear a tie. Don't tell that you are from this firm. You have to go there as your internal auditor of appointed by a bank for fundraising. But this is the purpose. This is what we are looking at." Sounded very interesting, right? A young guy, just done his CA.
How
Went
old,
there. Sorry.
how old were you?
That time probably 22, 23. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounded very interesting. When there, very quickly realized that this quite different from audit. While we were looking at financials, it was much more in depth, right? Doing a lot of business analysis was a great learning experience. Loved it. I mean, it was midnights almost every day, but it was a fun experience doing that. Always felt that you're doing some great different work. And then probably after 3 months, the deal that I was working on landed in ET front page, gave a lot of high, right? Oh, wow, this is what I worked on. And that's what attracted me. Uh, my manager came back from his marriage leave, but I didn't go back. Luckily, at that time, the firm was kind of forming a dedicated transaction services team. So kind of moved full time to that practice. So I would say deals came by coincidence, but was kind of love at first sight. Did a first assignment and just have never looked back, have been in deals all throughout. So it actually started as a diligence, financial diligence, but have then experienced different kind of assignments.
Oh, um, so this is transaction services, right?
Yeah,
A lot of people who are outside the industry also do not make a differentiation or distinction between transaction services and then dealer advisory. Which includes other services as well. So just to give context, uh, transaction services would mean key focus areas like financial due diligence, quality of earnings, working capital analysis, debt structuring, stuff like that, right? Which is probably a subset of the bigger umbrella, which is what you're doing now, which is deal advisory,
yeah,
where this after transaction services you also do M&A strategy or valuation. um, is that am I getting this right? Is that the
yeah.
right way?
So let me make it very simple. So I would say deal advisory is the larger umbrella, obviously. And if you look at deals in three different spectrums, one is probably a pre-deal, or kind of really stitching a deal where investment banking comes into play. You would try and bring right partners, look at deal rationale. Then comes a deal execution phase, which will be financial diligence, deal structuring, commercial diligence, and various sorts of diligences, very simply put. And then will be a post deal, that once a deal has been done, are you really realizing the potential of the deal? Why in the first stage did you do the deal? So really harvesting the deal. So that's the post deal phase of it. So deal advisory is a larger bucket encompassing all this, I would say, different portions or different parts of the deal cycle. I started with transaction services and now look after the entire deal spectrum.
And then there's another distinction, which is investment banking, which is what we also spoke about briefly, right? Now,
Yeah.
if I have to give an analogy, a number of people, again, do not understand the difference between dealer advisory and investment banking. So, as an analogy, let's assume an investment banker is the person who sells the car, but the dealer advisor inspects the engine, calculates the mileage, checks the paperwork, and makes sure that the buyer isn't overpaying. Am I getting it more or less right?
Broadly, yes, but that's more transaction services. Investment banking, I would say, is the first part of deal advisory. So it
Got
will
it.
start with investment banking and end probably with post deal services.
Got it. So BDO would have an investment banking arm as
Yes.
well, which is
Yes.
which is a very focused on that part of the origination, right?
Yeah.
After the pre-deal stage, and then there are others which you can layer on. Now, help me also understand, the buy side and the sell side. I'm assuming predominantly you represent the buy side because you're helping them make better decisions. Or is that not the case? Because you cannot represent both sides unless,
Exactly.
right? Help the viewer understand
Sure. Yeah.
how would you think about it.
So, so we work both on buy sides as well as sell sides in a
Mhm.
different way, right? So, as I said, within deal advisory, I have an investment banking team where our larger focus is on sell side mandates. We do buy side, especially with the network that we have. We would have multinational clients wanting to enter India, want to do transaction. That's where largely we will do a buy side transaction, trying to help them acquire something in India or find the right partner. But on the investment banking side, the focus would be largely on sell side. As we move toward the deal execution phase, which is where we do probably commercial DD, fin DD, tax DDs, operational HR, tech DDs, that's where it's a lot to do with buy side. But these days, and it's over last couple of years, vendor diligence has taken a prominence, which means that you actually do a diligence on behalf of the seller, keep everything ready so that process speeds up, right? You would do it as if you're doing for a buyer, but this time you're actually doing for the seller. Your report is available to multiple bidders, so you actually save the time during the deal execution phase. So I would say we work up, depending on which practice, we end up working for buyers as well as sellers, obviously not on same transaction.
Understood. Understood. And in terms of success for BDO as an
Yeah.
institution, I'm assuming is sell side more lucrative than buy side because there are more bidders and hence the chance of a transaction going through is higher, or is it the other way around?
No, that's true, Harsh. For I would say for typically for any investment banking type of transaction, sell side is more lucrative because deal has a lot of probabilities and contingencies. When you are doing work for sell side, at least there is a comfort that you will end up probably selling it to one of the bidders.
Correct.
When you're working on a buy side, you're not only relying on contingencies of the deal, but also the fact that someone else may outprice you
Correct.
or bring something else to the table and take the deal away. So I think for any investment banker, probably working on a sell side is more lucrative in a way.
Un- Understood. So, we always talk about the big four, but if I say big five, BDO is the fifth largest, right? I
Yes.
mean, you guys keep on ranking each other out in different parts of the deal advisory stage, but it's fair to say that BDO is right up there with the biggest audit firms, and now everyone's carved out their own niche within the deal advisory process,
Right.
and and hence you've seen parts of five of the biggest or two of the five of the biggest companies in the world. What is the big difference? I mean, because I'm sure there's a cultural difference. I'm sure there's a difference in how it started, and that has seeped through. But what's the biggest difference that you experience? Because you've been in a more or less decade in this role as a partner for BDO, but you also were a a partner at PwC.
Right. So I would say largely the work that we do in terms of quality would be similar in nature. I think
Mhm.
what as BDO we try and differentiate, and honestly, we started late in India. Uh, BDO started about 11 years back, while as the other larger four are been there for more than 100 years. So we had to be a bit different in terms of what we do. I think what we pride ourselves us is in being nimble-footed. Uh, a newer organization, a more hungrier organization. So the idea is to be more nimble-footed. We have tried. A lot of us have come from some of these larger competition, and what we've tried to do is bring the good parts from these organizations and try to bring it all together. Uh, so I would say trying to be more, spending more senior time on any transaction, being nimble footed, is probably what the two largest differentiators when it comes to BDO. Yeah.
So 11 years back, BDO entered India. You've been with the firm for over 10 years. How did that happen? How did BDO come to be for you?
So, Harsh, again, a very interesting kind of a story. When I joined BDO, it was just started. It was a small firm at that time, about 20 partners, 400 people. I had spent more than 15 years with a larger firm, was a partner there. Had enjoyed my journey, to be fair. It's only that during my last year or so, I kind of felt, uh, what should I say, a little stagnant probably, or was not finding it that exciting. Uh, was well settled, was doing the work, but kind of become a probably routine. I was young, probably 37, 38 at that point of time. So was looking for something more interesting, more challenging. Had all these dreams of doing something on my own. Uh, and I had while a casual conversation with a friend who had spent some time in BDO. He talked me about what he's been doing and found it very interesting. So he got me connected to Milan Kothari, who's our founding partner. Uh, Milan was really impressed what they were trying to do at that point of time. Also, kind of having been doing diligences, so had my analytical mind, looked at where BDO was globally. At that point, if I'm not mistaken, it was 1/5 of the largest firm globally in terms of size. In India, at that point of time, BDO was probably, well, it just started, probably less than 1/100th of the largest firm. And like, oh, so it should be quite logically, if you look at it, if we do things right, we should certainly reach the
The one.
fifth, the 1/5 size, right?
Mm.
And my hypothesis, I'm happy to say, hypothesis turned out true. We've grown like anything. So that was the logical rationale. Met Milind, met the Asia Pac CEO, found it very interesting what we were trying to do. Was an opportunity to kind of start something. I realized that here I'll probably get a chance to do something that I always wanted, set up my own teams, build in own processes. So really got a kind of entrepreneurial opportunity with a big brand to support. So I think that's why I chose BDO, and it's been a very interesting journey. Got different roles. So when I joined as a diligence partner to set up diligence practice. Uh, Quickly was asked to kind of build our Bangalore office. So that kind of gave me a completely different experience of setting up different offices, setting up different practices. Then I think I'm sure I did a good job. Then I was kind of brought in into or co-opted into our executive board, and again that gave me a completely different experience, right? Just from being deals focused to look at different practices, understand different nuances of business. So that went by. Then played the role of a private equity leader, and then the deal advisory leader. So uh, 10 years have been really an interesting journey. Trying to play different roles really helped me grow as a professional. Uh, I think it's been a great journey. I think what also attracted me is when I met Milan. The aggression or the future plans that he had uh, was really very impressive. Like one of the smaller things, small things do make those differences. When I came to office, this was here at Ruby in Dadar. Uh, one of the larger professional firms is in the same office. Video was very small, but they had a very nice office. Showed me that okay, they are thinking big. They're already prepared for a larger foray in the future. That's got really attracted. And as I said, it's been a great journey.
So it sounds like, if I had to go back to what you told me in the beginning, your idea was always to go back to your hometown and build a practice, right? So there was always that entrepreneurial bug that you had, which, probably with PwC having done so well at only the age of 37. So you actually became partner when you were 31. Is that true?
No, so I moved around 38. I was a partner at 33. So one of the younger partners.
Is
Uh,
that normal? I mean, is it normal? What's an average
I think at that time when I was one of the youngest partners in PwC. I think nowadays we see a lot of younger partners.
Very young? Okay. So you went from, having that entrepreneurial work to reaching the top at PwC, to then feeling like there's a bit of inertia, the challenge wasn't there. And then suddenly this opportunity came up where you could be an entrepreneur and build from scratch, probably without taking on all the risk. But it excited you because you saw every part of the business. It excited you because you were able to take each and every process in the everything in the M&A process. I'm assuming right from the beginning to the end. You're right. I mean, I was watching some of your posts where even post diligence you're pretty involved.
Yeah.
There's a IMO division that you guys have launched, very involved. Sounds fantastic, and it sounds like you're having a ball. I mean, you're really enjoying yourself, and I don't think the challenge has stopped because the growth is there. So from 100th when you started, have you reached the 1/5 now, a decade later?
Uh, I think we are moving there.
Okay.
Still not to cover. I mean, if you hear my managing partner talk, there is no dearth of challenges. He kind of puts a new challenge, throws a new challenge at us almost every day. But it's
Uh-huh.
it's it's really an interesting kind of journey. Learned a lot, uh, and still learning.
And still learning. That sounds amazing. Amazing. Okay. Um, you spent 9 years as a senior manager for PwC. It looked odd that your title didn't change for 9 years. I mean, is that
Yeah,
not?
probably. No, no, probably that's when during those times there was no LinkedIn. So probably when I
Ah,
updated the LinkedIn, I would have updated as a senior manager. So no, I did start my journey from an article trainee, going through various designations to reach senior manager. Senior manager probably would have been a 2 year kind of a stint before
understood.
moving to a director role. But probably I kind of started LinkedIn when I was a senior manager.
Understood, understood. And then Canada happened, right? Before this whole BDO happened, you were almost 2 years in Canada. How was that experience for you?
No, again, a fabulous experience, I would say. It was more a secondment kind of a program, which all the firms have. So there was an opportunity to work as a part of transaction services practice in Toronto. uh, that came by. I thought it's a very interesting opportunity to try. We all worked on cross border deals out of India, and this was an opportunity to actually go to a different geography, work there, probably learn some new skills. So took up that opportunity, moved to Toronto. Really interesting to work with different partners uh, out there. I think Toronto practice that time had 5 partners, so it was a fabulous again experience there. Learned some great stuff out there. Moved around, looking at the country. Very beautiful country again, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so great experience there as well.
The thought of staying back, making a base in Toronto, did that never occur, or was that ever the plan?
No, did occur, and there was an opportunity when I decided to move back. My partners did offer that they can talk to India office and have me continue out there. But I think that was around 2007 2008. India at that time, I moved to Canada, and within a year or so, India was growing very fast. India seemed to be the place where all the action was. It was growing. Private equity had started significantly in India. Uh, so I didn't want to miss on the action. I spoke to my partners in India office, and they say, yeah, I mean, it's been really crazy in last 1.5 year, and
Mhm.
ideally you should come back. This is where the action is. I think timing wise also worked pretty well. I came back.
Just before the crash. But
True, came back, worked, was lucky to work on some of the larger transactions, was made a partner, and actually, sometime after that, Lehman happened. So I would say the timing was perfect. Probably lucky
no.
there.
Was there any mentor who played a significant role in this whole journey over the last 28 years now?
So I would say, I can't point to a single mentor, but I've been actually extremely lucky to have very good bosses in all the organizations or where I've been. I've learned a lot from them. I'm in touch with them even today. Like for example, PwC, I started with a partner by name Bimal Tanna. Uh, Still a mentor. Keep on touch with him. Do reach out if I get need some advice. Uh, he was like a perfectionist, right? He really made us work really hard during early days. Uh, Really taught us the importance of getting it right. And as youngsters, actually, we used to crib at that time, right? I mean, the whole thing, why do we need to be so perfect, right? It delivers the message, but he kept on harping upon us the importance of doing a perfect analysis, writing the report properly, and as we move forward, we actually realize the importance of that. Also saw how calm he was under tense situations, right? And that really helped from a deals. Moved to Canada. There, this partner called Richard Pay. Again, learned a lot from him. Uh, I think he showed me what's the importance of taking onus. So he always said that don't just think like a diligence provider. Think that you are the acquirer. This is the money that you are going to put in the company, and now see, is your decision different, or is your way of thinking different? Will you approach the problem in a different way? That really, that kind of thinking opened up a lot. So if you stuck or hit a roadblock, there was no information, he would make you think, okay, what else would you do? You're not getting it here, right here. Is there an alternative approach? That kind of taught me the importance of taking onus. I think back here, as I mentioned about BDO, I have two bosses, Yogesh Sharma and Milind. They keep on challenging me. I think one thing that I've learned out here is thinking out of the box, right? So every day that's a challenge thrown that, okay, we have to grow much faster than competition. If you follow the same path, probably it will take you the same number of years to reach, but we don't have that much time. So how would you think differently to reach there? So new challenges, new way of thinking. I would say I've been lucky to kind of have that kind of a relationship with my bosses at different places where I've worked, and that's really helped me, look at challenges or problems in a different way. It's always been kind of interesting to look at more as an opportunity rather than treating it as a problem.
And is there a pivotal moment that one, for instance, I can take is you moved back at the right time. You got lucky. You were. Would you say that was a pivotal moment in your career which shaped your path, or was there any other which comes to mind?
So I would say that probably was one. Second, a decision to kind of move to BDO when it was just starting. I think that really helped me grow as a professional. Uh, Probably helped me move from a diligence provider to a larger deal advisor.
I understood. Let's move to some of the deals that you've done.
Yeah.
I you BDO supported Metropolis Healthcare acquired Dr. Huja's pathology recently. Help us understand your role in that transaction.
Okay, so Harsh, honestly, that was more a diligence kind of a transaction. So we had built, me and one of my colleagues here, we built a relationship with Metropolis, and they gave us opportunity to work on a transaction. Again, not a very large transaction, but then I got a right diligence partner who has expertise in the healthcare diagnostic kind of area, and that's where we worked on the diligence. So it was more, to be honest, more diligence and then some other advisory work related to the transaction, I would say.
And then IBC has been, in the news a lot over the last
Yeah.
decade. You were also involved with the Leo Meridian Infrastructure Projects and Hotel Limited deal, right? Where they were financially distressed. One of the finest hospitals, not sorry, hotels in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
There, the BDO restructuring team was involved. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, again, just to add a little bit more to that, IBC kind of came in place in 2016. That was one area where we started with everyone else. And at that point of time, Milind kind of we hired a partner in business restructuring services. Hired someone early in 2015 when IBC was still not come into play. Uh, and the idea was that this is one opportunity where we will get a level playing field because we all will start together. We built a strong IBC team. We did three of the first dirty dozen, so-called dirty dozen, 12 cases identified by RBI, and then that's kind of continued. Leo Meridian was another transaction which had got stuck in courts with disputes, and RP we got an opportunity to be the resolution, RP out there, and we provided the support services. The idea was to identify who is the right bidder, uh, evaluate from a regulatory standpoint the business, if the resolution plan submitted met all the requirements, was a plan which will help revive the company, and that's the role we played there. And now happy to say that the transaction's been done, the handover is in process. So that's kind of worked really well. That's another practice. Again, different part of deals, but again, that's it's more working on the stress side of things.
Is there any standout deal you worked on which you always remember? Probably one of the biggest billion-dollar transactions that you worked on.
So I wouldn't say $1 billion one, but one deal has always kind of made a mark on me and kind of helped me grow. Was where we were working on a sell side. It was a kind of a mid-sized confectionery business having five brands, and they wanted to sell one brand. What made it very interesting was the way the business was. Brands obviously were entangled, lot of interdependencies. uh, the brand which they were selling, uh, they had multiple factories.
Which
Two
brand?
uh, I would like to keep it. May not want to go on this specific because
Okay.
I can't recollect now if there were particular confidential things signed at
Sure.
that point in time. So,
Okay.
but let me tell you what it was and what made it really interesting. So,
Okay.
classic carve-out puzzle, right? Been there. There were plants which manufactured those that particular brand. Let's, for sake of simplicity, let me call it as brand X. They
Okay.
wanted that brand. The two plants not only produced that product but multiple products. The raw material supply chain was common. The sales channel was common, and
Ooh.
we were thrown this challenge as to, okay, first is how do we make a standalone financial model, right? Uh,
How
I
do you
think one of
untangle? How do you untangle five brands which actually are manufactured together?
yes, everything together. Very interesting. We spent a lot of time. I think we spent almost 6 months just doing carve out a large team. Obviously, started from the simple one, right? Sales typically is where it's pretty easy to kind of manage. So started with sales, build all the analysis that you would do, then took at plants and then actually carved out the because the other portion was smaller, so carved out the business which they were going to retain. So we did had a profitability at plant level, then moved to the sales channel. Instead of doing one easier way was, you allocate cost by percentages, but we said no, that's not the way, because what we are trying here is to build a standalone uh, entity.
Mm.
If private equity were to acquire this needs to function as a standalone independent entity. So we'll really build the model bottoms up. Uh, a lot of cross collaboration with different teams. It was no longer a financial exercise. I think all of us in that team really understood the nuances of different parts of business. Really built it from a bottoms up kind of a version. Obviously, use certain assumptions were required. Uh, Great learning experience, and it kind of we really built a process flowchart showing, okay, this is what it is, and then took away one part every time to kind of show how we reached a standalone P&L. To me, that has been a very interesting, not large in size, but because of the complexities involved, one of the most interesting deals which I remember even today. Some of the members, when I have to advise, I kind of give them the example of that deal and how you kind of take it in a step by step manner, logically to its conclusion. So, very interesting one out there.
Sounds very interesting. I mean, I'm currently involved in a business, and I get to, in a very different business, kind of see the full picture and then
Right.
break it down and be involved in parts of it which totally drive growth. I find it extremely interesting. I mean, as an entrepreneur, like it turns me on just to see what levers you can pull,
Yeah.
where is failure, what you learn from it. What did you take away from something like that? What has stuck? The story obviously stuck because it looks like you got to kind of build the business from scratch, right? Because you
Yeah.
had to untackle everything and then put it together like a Lego and
Yeah.
build it up. But has there been any lessons which have totally stayed with you, which you've used then for the other deals that you worked on?
Well, certainly, I would say a couple of them. One obviously is devil lies in the detail. You need to roll up your sleeves and go in depth. Just looking at high level doesn't work. You really need to go deep inside any problem to pick up, and that's where you'll start. So I think that is one thing where we try and do is really go deep inside, understand it completely. A second important part, I would say, is cross collaboration. Uh, as financial advisors, you basically uh, trying to really, you're no longer just financial advisors, I would say. You really need to understand business. You look at yourself as probably a temporary COOs, right? Uh, Try and understand the business, and as if you were to build this, how will it look? I think
Hmm.
that's a lesson that has shown that it's just not financial advisory. You really need to be business architects, really need to understand the business to come up with a plan which will really work. And I think one another important lesson that I've learned from that deal is it is not about perfection, right? It is about building something which is reliable, which is trustworthy, right? So in a carve out, everyone knows it's messy, right? No one, I mean, even the buyer knows that you're not going to get it perfect. But are you able to give something which is reliable, which is logical, and which will stand the test of scrutiny, right? You know, the media deals don't die because of lower numbers. Deals
Mm.
don't work because they are non-reliable numbers, right? So it's important to build that trust, a logical flow where you're trying to present something which can stand the test of scrutiny, stand scrutiny from different people, different types of buyers. I think we did a great job there, and that stayed with me. That okay, think beyond finance. Think how if a business has to stand alone independently, how will that function? I think that's few things that have stayed with me throughout.
Let me ask you a question, which um, relevant to a podcast I was listening to this morning. Actually, the CEO of Perplexity was being asked, and he said something which is true. He said, "Look, we have a limited mental RAM, right? There's only so much that the human mind can remember, and of course, there's context and experience and pattern recognition and the ability to really absorb and be a master in the field that you are in. Almost 3 decades. Has AI helped you think better? I mean, are you able to make your mental RAM and the constraint you have echo out and really expand it given the technology which has now come to us and is available? Does it help you ask better questions?
Yes, but I would say we are still in early stage of making the best use of AI. It certainly helps, right? It helps you in a quick understanding uh, in a limited time span that you have. If you ask the right questions, you get good response, good analysis which you can use. But at least for me personally, I would say it's an early stage. If you ask me what's one thing that you would really like to learn, I would say that would be making the best possible use of AI, because I think it's a great tool. It's up to us to adopt it, and that's one thing we keep on discussing internally. I mean, very recently we had our deal advisory partners conference, and that's one of the key items on the agenda in terms of how do we use technology to make our work quality better, how to be more efficient.
Mm.
I think it's a great tool. It's up to us, all of us, to adopt it and learn. Because clearly, right, you bring years of experience of deals as deal professionals, and here is a tool which can give you almost real time analysis, can basically take away all your leverage job, honestly, and then gives you time to think beyond numbers. Understand the room, understand what are the other drivers, and really focus. So it's a perfect marriage. It's just that I would say we are still in very early stage. It's up to all of us to adopt it, and whoever does it well probably would be the winners of future.
Very interesting. What factors make certain deals more successful than others? Because over 700 due diligence, after seeing so much, I'm sure you see or get a feel for which deals are definitely going to be successful versus some which might not be as successful.
Certainly, I would think one is clarity, uh, right? A couple of factors, like, so one obviously is a strategic fit part of it. So a deal which solves a real genuine business problem has a
Hmm.
chance of being accepted by everyone externally and internally, because then there's a real intent behind it. It takes care of why of the deal. Uh, if it is solving a genuine business problem and it's not just because of a deal euphoria or something, I think that's the best fit. So first point for me would be the why of the deal. Is the rationale behind the deal uh,
Good.
right? So that's one thing. Second is, I would say, clarity of all the people involved in the deal, including clarity of information that we that you review, having that clear vision about clarity. Uh, then I would say, alignment of people, understanding the human factors behind the deal, both from the buyer and seller side, right? And so how will you kind of work together? Because that's when you will realize the synergies that you had planned for. And this is not just at the senior level. It's important to see how at the operational level deal would then work together. So think what would happen beyond deal, 2 years down the deal. So you need to think in that angle. I think that's, if you plan for that correctly, that would make your deal successful. So the human aspect, the clarity behind the deals, I mean the strategic fit and the clarity of purpose. I think these are the key factors which would help in make any deal successful, among others.
What about negotiation? I mean, it's a pivotal point in every deal,
Yeah,
right? I mean, I'm sure the founders and the owners and the shareholders want to max out what their shares are worth.
yeah.
That's probably a big driving factor as well. And negotiation then plays a key role. What tactic do you use to succeed, especially under pressure when there is, desire to show that BDO was part of another successful transaction, and the sticky point is, probably the price or some other factor which doesn't work for the buyers?
So, very interesting question, Harsh, and obviously it's an art. There's no one answer to it, but how personally I try and do it. Again, couple of points. I would say one, before any meeting, not only deal meeting, but before any meeting, generally, what I try and think is, okay, what do I really want to achieve from this meeting, right? So one for me is a best case scenario or the best case ambition that I would try and achieve. So that's my high mark, saying, okay, this is what I want. But the second thing I do is I think of what is a minimum non-negotiable that I want to achieve, right? So that kind of gives me, because you're then during the negotiation meeting or any meeting for that matter, you're able to think on your feet. You don't have time to go back and come. So if you have that clearly thought out, then you know what's the extent of leverage you have to kind of work upon. So to me, that is one of the things that I always use before any meeting, especially for a deal meeting. Uh, Second thing is not to take things personally, right? Uh, when you get into deals, uh, it's just not about numbers and facts. It's about how. So don't take, if things get too emotional. I would try and find out a way to take a break, right? Uh,
What's the longest negotiation meeting you had in terms of hours? Have you been like in there for, you know, many hours and you cannot leave the room and the deal has to happen on that day?
yes, we've all been. I mean, any of the deal closure would have been in this situations. The longest probably was probably spread over a 2 day kind of a scenario where we've all huddled into the room saying, okay, we're not leaving unless this happens. But what we did there as well, when things kind of became very heated, uh, kind of tried to take a break so that people then calm down and are able to think better. I
And
think
eat some
last,
food and eat some food, because I think when the energy tumbles, you
yeah.
become impatient and fidgety and are more reactive, etc. But that must be tough, though. It must be tough when there is no middle ground. So you're saying there's a floor. You know what the worst case scenario is, and you know what you want to achieve. So you know that you cannot go below a certain one, and then
Yeah,
of course you're asking something which might be up there, so you have room to play, right?
yeah.
You will never start with just your worst case, because they'll always go
No,
down.
yeah, you know, I mean, you know what where you can go to, but that's not you're going to start with. You don't want to leave value on the table, so you start there. So another thing that I always look at is, a deal is about, it's a give and take, right? I would like to give in volume and get in value.
Mhm.
So
What do you mean by
generally,
that? What do you
so
mean by that?
yeah, so when you're negotiating a deal or probably an agreement, right? There are like 100 things which you and lawyers from both sides will debate on, discuss on. Uh, I think one of the principles that I've adopted is, if those are smaller things which are not going to make a difference, and in any deal there will be couple of critical points and there'll be plenty of other smaller points. Even at the start, not to show that you make your point, but then kind of show that you are giving away this point for this, because in the interest of closure of a deal. So you build a particular uh, impression that you are here to close the deal. It's not that you want to take everything for your client, but you're ready to give as well. So give away on probably those smaller things, but when it comes to the critical points, that's where you kind of really push hard. And then it
Understood. So,
also shows it's a negotiation technique, right? You've shown that you're willing to give, so no one can claim that you're trying to take away everything. So
so
that's
that value of reciprocity then plays in. They're like, okay, these
exactly.
guys are
Yeah,
giving. We also have to give some, and then there are some critical points that you stick to because those are important for you or your client. Makes sense. Makes sense. But how do you build this trust? I mean, with clients, both in the short term and the long term, whether we like it or not. I mean, I talk about, as someone who's running regions, teams, we are
yeah.
in the trust business, right? At the end of the day, if I don't care how, we are the world's most secure virtual data room provider. I
Yeah.
mean, you just Google us or the highest reviewed. But if the person doesn't trust you or hasn't worked with you before and there's no rapport, right? It doesn't matter. And I'm sure that's the case with, in your field as well, because you're competing with some of the best in the world. So how do you build that trust? I mean, what does it take to get clients to give you an opportunity?
So again, see, it's not a short term formula. It's built over a period of time. uh, Building trust doesn't happen in one or two meetings. You have to be with it. You have to be in a constant dialogue with the client. uh, what personally I try and do is, client should see a value, right? Once is the best way is, because in any marketing pitch, right, all of us are going to say best things about us, right?
Of
So
course.
what I try, and there are opportunities. There are some large deals, and they're working with you for the first time, or given an opportunity to bid for the first time, and there's a common question that, okay, uh, so what I've also done in the past is told them, okay, why don't you try us out on something smaller first, right? And the idea is, when they give you that bit or a portion of a deal, deliver such a quality that they trust you and willing to give you a shot for a larger one. Uh, Also important to add value every time. See, client is going to pay you fees for what he is expecting. So you need to deliver something more. That's where you can build value. Also, even common day-to-day meetings, right? Time is of essence. Time is critical for everyone, right? So the idea is, even if you're going for a casual coffee meeting, is there some thought, some idea that you can leave behind? So something new for the client. So he values that time and probably wants to meet you again. So one is that. Second, I think, is honesty. It's very important from a long term perspective. In a short term, you can probably present some a rosy picture and win, but if you goof up on a job, that will
Mhm.
remain forever. Bad news spread much faster, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What I've seen is, let's say a particular case where either you don't have the team, it's urgent deal, needs to be done, but you don't have the team, or this is an area or a sector where you don't have expertise. Uh, while not to shy away from hard work or different work, but if it's, you have to understand the situation that point of time. If it's something you can't genuinely deliver to the best of quality, probably just say that to the client.
Hmm.
So as business professionals, it's very difficult to say no to any work. But believe me, if such a situation arises where you can't deliver to the best quality, go and say that upfront. It creates immense trust with the client, because then he believes you that, okay, you're not going to say something just so that you win the transaction. You are honest. You said no where you can't deliver, and that builds immense trust. Uh, so while such situations are rare, you don't have a way to run away from a challenge. But if ever you are in such situation, just be upfront and honest. It goes a long way.
Let's talk about your leadership. I was, if you look at someone like a Jeff Bezos, he built this framework around leadership because he realized that he couldn't be everywhere to make these decisions, right?
Yeah,
So the framework had to deliver, and people had to think like him to be able to make the decision because he couldn't be there. Now you're a partner, you're a head of an organization, you have teams under you who have to make these decisions, who have to make the kind of decisions that you would if you were in that room, who have to
yeah.
negotiate like you. So, as a leadership philosophy, how do you think about that? How do you instill that ability to make the right decisions within your team?
Yeah. So again, I would say one obviously is have your fundamentals right. That's a must. That's an entry ticket to anything, right? So knowledge, you have to be up there. So that's a thing to my entire team, that anything that we are working on, we need to be fully prepared for it. Whatever homework it needs to take, we got to do it. That's your entry ticket. Uh, Other thing from a leadership perspective is it's giving everyone enough independence to do their thing. Everyone has a different style, right, of working. Some
Mhm.
people are motivated by some kind of a carrot. Uh, Few people by so you need to understand every person. And I think what I take pride in is probably uh, all the 30 partners working with me. I know each of them individually. I know what would drive each one of them. So my pitch to one person versus another person when I want them to achieve something would be probably completely different, because each person is a individual. He has his skill sets, and you need to know as a leader what drives every individual. That's the key, I would say. As I said, knowledge is a must. That's the basic, right? Everyone needs to be there, but how do you drive your teams? Because you can't do everything alone. You are as good as your team. So one, hiring, getting a right talent, uh, and then keeping them motivated. Uh, you know, End of the day, it's a team. You need to keep the leaders that work with you happy, and they need to then keep their teams motivated, right? So to me, that's the key, to understand what would drive an individual, and then use it.
So one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah,
I get that, right? You can't motivate everyone with the carrot of money. For some people, it might be reputation. For others, it might be the work they're doing. For others, it might be time off and work-life balance, etc.
yeah,
Talking about hiring, right? That's probably the biggest challenge, and I'm sure you spend a ton of time trying to get the right people on board because that's how you can scale and grow and build more trust in the ecosystem. How do you determine? It's such a tough, ask. How do you determine somebody who would fit your team, your culture, be able to get along with the other 30 partners. And, I've realized that a lot of people are great at execution, but they're not great leaders or managers, right? And this is a fault that I've seen or read about, happen again and again. Somebody who's a master in operations suddenly is deciding on capital allocation because he's been made CEO, right?
yeah.
That wasn't their forte. That's not what they were good at. But, now they're doing something they've never done before and they're not good at it, and hence failure happens at the institutional level, at the personal level. How do you avoid these problems? How do you hire well?
So, one thing I think is not everyone is a Kapil Dev, right? Everyone can't do best at everything. So you
Sure.
obviously need to know what you're looking for. When you're hiring, I think culture is very important. So especially when you're hiring at a senior level, I do try and do a number of personal meetings. I just don't rely on Teams call. Probably try and meet the person out for a coffee or a dinner. Uh, we try and speak to a lot of others whom he has worked with, or his
Hmm.
ex. I mean, obviously, you can't to the current speak to his current organization. That's not fair. But we try and talk to people who have worked with, but do a lot of cross reference checks, because obviously some people would have a better ability to present themselves in a meeting or in an interview, right? And some
Correct.
people are really good at work but may not be that expressive, or may not be that good during these meetings. So what we try and do is, one, obviously meet them in person a couple of times. Also try and do a lot of background reference checks to ensure that we are getting a right hire. It's very critical. We are in a human capital business. Uh, all of us. I mean, we are going to grow as long as we have good people. Very recently, and we keep on hiring on a regular basis, right? We are already 11,000 people. My managing partner has kind of laid it out in interviews that in next 4 to 5 years we want to be a 25,000 large organization.
Hmm.
Uh, and in fact, very recently, one of my co-partners had kind of said nicely, "Banda hai to dhanda hai."
Hmm.
So that's critical, I think. So doing a thorough research, cultural alignment is critical. uh, Technical skills, I said, that's a base, but I'm assuming here that you will get those people with good technical, and he has to fit the culture of our organization, right? uh, every organization has its culture. While I said that people are individualistic, we need to appreciate that, but at the same time, at a broader level, he needs to be someone who will be able to fit in the organization.
Let's assume you're starting over today, right?
Okay.
Forget 30 years. You're an investment banker, or you are, a deal advisor or in transaction services. Let's say you're coming into BDO
Right.
and just got hired. What advice would you give yourself to get to where you are if you had to start over?
So let me think few years back now. uh, so I would say, one, have a clarity in terms of what do you want to achieve, right? uh, that's important. That where do you see yourself, and this is not a interview question, right? Typically, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? But really think to yourself, what do you want to achieve? uh, what's your goal? And be agile. See, things are going to change. You may think of something to achieve. You So be prepared, prepare for that, get ready, build right teams. One of the critical thing when I joined BDO was to build my team, right? That was extremely critical, because I can't do everything alone. It's important to have right teams. So, I mean, a lot of thinking has to go into whom are you going to hire. Do you have a network of people whom you have worked in the past, who trust you and you trust them? So getting that, I think building the team to me is the first thing that I'll give thought to. What do I want to achieve? And be agile. Uh, as you move, you're going to be thrown different challenges, and you need to enjoy those challenges. Honestly. So I would say that's what I will broadly think about if I were to be kind of newly hired and to build it again.
Well, how do you manage stress and maintain a clear mindset? I mean, this is a pretty high pressure business. Their targets, their expectations.
Yeah.
Um, what do you do in your personal life to be able to manage this load?
So, a few things that I try and do regularly. It's important. All of us work in a kind of a stressful situation. Deals are stressful, so it's important to take some me time. Easier said than done, but I do ensure that every year I would take a annual break, go for a vacation. But more than that, because that's probably once a year kind of a phenomena. What I would probably do is try and take, say, Sundays off. That's a principle that I've been largely following. Work very hard for 5 or 6 days, whatever it requires, but try and take a day off, which is most likely a Sunday, when you don't think about work. that brings you back refreshed on a Monday. So I'll just take out my car, go for a drive somewhere close by. A lot of beautiful spots around Mumbai. You know, just go do something different. What I've done recently over last 2 years, I've started playing golf.
Nice.
Again, don't get much time, but at least on Sunday, I make it sure that I spend morning 3 to 4 hours, depending on whether I'm playing 9 or 18. But that's very de-stressing, right? When you're there on the course, and that's true for any sport, I would say.
Mhm.
What you're only thinking of is how can you better your swing or have a better next shot, and not thinking of anything else. To me, that's like a meditation or yoga for me, I would say.
So this happens every Sunday. Only every
Uh,
Sunday you go.
yeah,
Every
most of the Sundays I'll try and build it in my routine.
And how's golf treating you? I mean, it's something that I have not picked up. I play cricket. I enjoy it. I'm young enough to still be able to, duck up the fast ball coming to my head. But golf is something probably another 10, 15 years I'd like to pick up. Any advice on actually start trying to enjoy the sport, because it feels really slow still, right? It feels like there's not enough action.
So that's the same thing. When I was trying to convince my son, why don't you join me for a game one of the days? I said, "Oh, it's too slow." Uh, but that's not true. Actually, it's one game where you're playing with or against yourself. Actually, it's very interesting, very difficult. No day is same, and the best guys in the world have said that consistency in golf is almost unachievable. So very interesting. My only advice would be start early. I started quite late. So don't wait for those 10, 15 years.
Let's talk about retirement. Is there
Yeah.
a retirement age in deal making? Because from what it sounds like, the more you do, almost 30 years, that's 3 decades,
Yeah.
that's a lifetime. It seems like the more you do, the better you get at this job. So why would you ever retire?
Again, Harsh, these days, right, I feel there's no retirement age for anything. To me, retirement is like doing something that I like to do, but probably at my own pace. So if I have to bring context from a deals perspective, I don't think there's a defined age. You ought to work till the time you enjoy it, right, and are able to do it, obviously. Uh, for me, probably I don't know when, but probably 10 years down the line, there might be a time where I may feel that okay, instead of doing X number of deals at a time, I may just want to do one or two. So that will give me more time for myself. Uh, but yes, I don't think retirement is going to be possible as long as you enjoy it, right? So that's that my answer. Obviously, you get better with experience. The only thing that you need to be sure about is you're not complacent and you have the willingness to learn, because things are going to change. How deals are made, probably 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line is going to be different than what's happening today.
What will change? I mean, talk about the next decade with AI disrupting everything. Will deal flow always be there? Because I'm assuming companies will constantly always have to buy and sell. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
think this is ever going out of fashion. It's like air,
agreed.
right? This will happen. But what else will change? Sure, AI will make things maybe
So
cheaper, better. What are your thoughts?
I agree. So deals are going to be there. I don't think, as you rightly said, that's not going to change. Business is going to be, probably the way deals will happen would change. Some of the factors which drive deals could change. Like with what's happening currently in world, I think geopolitics would play a significant role in cross border deals. That's bound to happen as things move forward. uh, ESG would play an important role. uh, any business looking at, and there are already private equity funds who do focus on ESG as one of the aspects. I think as we move forward, that will be a critical agenda or critical deal consideration. You talked about technology, about AI and use of technology, but I think not only AI for how you do the deal, but technology would be a key factor in every deal. So, for example, what I mean is, say, even if it's a manufacturing deal, right? Uh, what? technology you are using there, how is the management prepared to deal with new technological innovations which may come in the sector? Are you prepared to, take those in and reinvent yourself with it? So those kind of thinking going into the deal would be critical. AI you obviously spoke about. So deal making, use of technology or AI for doing deals would certainly be there. It will probably speeden up the deal process. But the thinking is bound to be there. So geopolitical factors, ESG, use of technology in anything that we do, uh, and then human factor in the deal making is always going to remain. I don't think that will ever change.
All right, let's talk about you. Last few questions. What
Sure.
profession other than your own would you have liked to pursue?
Only about interest.
Yeah, I
Then
mean,
yeah.
I-
So as I said, I took up golf. You back professional golfer, right? I was spending hours on lush green fairways, traveling across the world to play tournaments, making returner money from participation and success fee from winning. It's a dream world, right? Why not? Still, don't ask me about the skill, right? It's far away.
always good to daydream. What's one goal,
Yeah.
personal or professional, that you still hope to achieve?
So see, I think on a more serious, professionally, obviously, lots to achieve. All of us have our own set of targets, plans, 5-year goals to do. But I think one thing on a serious note, personally, what I would like to do is uh, I do like traveling a lot. As I said, whenever possible, Sundays I try and take drive somewhere close by. I think if I can, and at some point of time, I will try and devote my time to developing rural tourism. When we go globally, we travel globally, we see a lot of places which are marketed so well. But in India, close to us, there are so many of those hidden gems, right? uh, I think I would like to build my professional experience somewhere there when it's kind of my way of giving it back to the society, right? To build something around that area which helps livelihood of people and also brings to showcase a better India, I would say. So that would be my dream. Maybe not now, but for sure in years to come.
So that entrepreneur bug remains. I think that will
Yeah,
never go.
yeah.
Uh, if you could master any skill, what would it be other
I think
than
you
golf?
you talked about it. I think AI, right? We are just scratching the surface. It's a lot to do. I try and see how I can use it. Still lot to learn, and that's my advice to people who work with me. That guys, we really need to be at it. We don't need to be coders, but we need to understand technology and how to make best of use of it. Otherwise, we will not stay relevant. So to me, uh, learning technology and making the best possible use of AI, that will be top of my agenda in terms of things to learn.
If you could meet any historical figure, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Very interesting one. Probably, I don't know. Since I have stayed, as I said, I stayed in Maharashtra, near Raigad district. I don't know if you've heard about the great Maratha king Shivaji Maharaj during
Mhm.
17th century. Now, he had very limited resources, right? He was kind of with war with mighty Mughals at that point of time. But he was a master of guerrilla warfare, right? He used the terrain to his advantage, used great intelligence networks, had very precise attacks. So if I mean, this is obviously a hypothetical one. If I were to get an opportunity, I would say, how did you manage to think out of the box every time and win? That's a difficult task, right? My leaders push me to it, but thinking out of the box every time is so nothing. I mean, really great to learn from the master at the game as to how did he use such tactics and manage to win out of every situation. That would be my question.